Now I'm gonna be working. I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of things that I want to do, as a player in this league. So I wish we were still able to practice so I can continue to get those fast reps, but I got to find a way to, make up for that.
Michael Penix Jr. was the 4th quarterback picked in the 2024 NFL draft. And I feel like compared to the top 3 guys, he has not really been discussed a ton so far this offseason. And the reason for that, I think, is probably because he's not going to be playing for at least the first season, probably at least the first 2 seasons of his career. And that is why the selection of Penix to the Falcons was one of the most surprising draft picks in recent memory. It's been talked about ad nauseum, the Atlanta Falcons' decision to go out in free agency and sign Kirk Cousins to an absolutely massive deal. So when they signed Kirk away from the Minnesota Vikings with a $180 million deal and 100 of it fully guaranteed, I'm pretty sure every single person outside of the Falcons organization believed that Atlanta was done addressing their quarterback room and that Cousins would be the undisputed starter for at least a handful of seasons. And it wasn't reported at all through the draft process that the Falcons were interested in any of these rookie quarterbacks. The first time I heard about it was right before the Falcons made their selection and Adam Schefter came on the screen and basically hinted towards the Falcons taking Penix. So this whole thing was just so under wraps for so long. So I feel like that's why so many people were just blindsided by this. I did multiple mock drafts and I had the Falcons taking a pass rusher or a cornerback in basically every single one of them. But Atlanta decided against both of those positions and are now going to be doing something that I don't think any other team in NFL history has done. In the same offseason, when you pay $180 million for a veteran quarterback to be your starter, to spend your top 10 pick on another quarterback as well. But those decisions have been made. We can't go back into the past and change them. And now the Falcons organization is going to try and navigate this thing and see if this unique situation can work out for them in the long run. And for me, it has nothing to do with Michael Penix Jr. as a player. I was pretty high on Penix compared to a lot of other people that I saw. I thought what he did at Washington last year was very, very impressive, bringing that team all the way to the national championship game, staying healthy for back-to-back years, almost throwing for 5,000 yards. I mean, it was a really impressive year. If you just take his pure passing ability in a vacuum, I don't think it's crazy to say he might have been the most purely gifted passer in the draft. But there was 2 things that really scared off some teams. The first being his age. He's going to be 24 years old heading into his rookie season. And then his injury history. He had multiple ACL tears, struggled to play more than 6 games in the first 4 years of his career at Indiana. But we saw the last 2 years at Washington, if he does have a stable line up front and he can be protected and have a consistent pocket, he's going to dice up defenses and some of the best defenses in the country. We saw it against Oregon. We saw it against Texas. Where I pushed back about the Atlanta Falcons drafting him inside the top 10 is that you just signed a veteran quarterback for almost $200 million. And Penix, who one of his biggest knocks is his age at 24 years old, he's not going to be playing for at least probably 2 years unless there was some catastrophic injury regarding Cousins. So the way I view it is that the first 2 seasons of Penix's career, he's just going to be sitting on the bench. And I know some people bring up the Packers, like how Aaron Rodgers sat for Brett Favre and then how Jordan Love sat for Aaron Rodgers. The difference is those guys were a lot younger and they were also seen as developmental players. Michael Penix Jr. is coming in ready to play right now. Obviously, every single rookie quarterback has a level of development that they need, but you can make a case that Penix is the most pro-ready quarterback in this entire draft class. He was in college for 5 years and started 39 games in his collegiate career. So that is why I argued if the Falcons did want to take a young quarterback to groom under Kirk Cousins, that someone like JJ McCarthy would have made a lot more sense. He would have been in the range to pick as well because, he was picked after Penix, and he is seen as a developmental player who did not get a ton of reps consistently at Michigan, but he has a lot of physical talent. He has a big arm. He can move fairly nicely, and he's only going to be 21 years old as a rookie. So 3 years younger than Penix. He would have more time to continue to improve. So I thought something like that would have made a little bit more sense, but I do understand if the team just loved Michael Penix and weren't super high on McCarthy as a prospect, you're not going to just take a guy to take a guy. But ultimately, I just do not understand or really agree with what the Falcons did this offseason regarding the quarterback position. They should have identified early in the offseason that they wanted a bridge quarterback, but not one that's going to cost as much as Kirk Cousins did, and that they were going to use their top pick on a quarterback. It just seems like they did not tie together the draft and free agency at all. And if they did that, they could have used their Kirk Cousins money to go out and get a premier pass rusher or somebody to help out in the secondary. So just some fundamental errors from the Falcons organization. But with all that being said, we have gotten our first look of Michael Penix Jr. in Falcons minicamp, and there has been some up and downs, which is pretty much expected from every single rookie. There's been a couple of reports that he's been a little bit inaccurate, just sailing passes here player there, but I also saw from numerous clips what we saw at Washington, just his touch, precision passing, and just ability to thread the needle between defenders. And even outside of some of the clips that we've seen on social media, there's been numerous teammates that have already come out and really raved about Penix so far and his performance and leadership. One of the rookies, wide receiver Casey Washington, had some fairly good things to say, saying he's awesome. I think him early on getting us out there as a group and showing himself as a leader is special. And obviously who he is as a football player is also there, but just to get out here and compete with each other, it's pretty special. And even on the defensive side of the ball, new rookie defensive tackle Zion Logue said he goes about his business. He's a true pro. He knows what he wants to do. He knows how to lead this team. Just ready to actually see him in action because we were kind of standoffish working in individuals rather than just the whole team. And another defender, and Brandon Dorless, who played at Oregon the last 2 years against Michael Penix, also came out and said big hands, quick release, he can put the ball on a string. He's great to talk to off the field, very calm, cool, collected. So I like him a lot. He's a good guy. And the last quote I want to mention is from head coach Raheem Morris, and he said after practice when he grabs his phone, he says the play to his phone. He listens to his voice recorder. He goes through the motions. He dictates the term on who's motioning, who's doing what, and then runs 2 sprints and he does it again at the other end. I just think that's development, that's growth, and that's this young man just being hungry and he wants to know. I love that about him. That was some of the stuff that really attracted us to him. So regardless of the clips, I think the biggest thing to take away from these quotes and the early impressions is just how good of a leader that Penix is. I do think again that creates a pretty interesting dynamic because if you have 2 strong leaders at the quarterback position in Cousins and Penix, how will that fare in the locker room and who will players really rally behind? But I think the first time and maybe really the only time we will see Michael Penix in action this year will be in the preseason, which is kind of sad. But when he is finally able to step in and be the quarterback 1 for this Atlanta team, I think they've done a fairly good job in the last couple of years really building up the infrastructure for their starting quarterback. Prior to this year's draft, they spent their last 3 first-round picks on offensive weapons: Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. They also brought in 2 more wide receivers this offseason, signing Darnell Mooney from the Chicago Bears on a 3-year deal and sending away Desmond Ridder for Rondell Moore in the slot. And the offensive line, which is especially important for Penix, is one of the best in the league, and Pro Football Focus rates it as the 6th best heading into the 2024 season. Center Drew Dalman's breakout last year was really big for the unit as a whole, and all 5 starters will return this year. There's a great tackle duo in Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry, one of the best right guards in the league in Chris Lindstrom, and then Matthew Bergeron, who was drafted in the 2nd round last year. He will be entering year number 2. So the line is very good and also fairly young. Outside of Jake Matthews, they're all inside their 20s. So they'll fit the timeline of Penix when he's able to step in. And the new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, I'm a pretty big fan of as well. He's bringing over the West Coast offense. He spent the last several years with Sean McVay in Los Angeles. He played quarterback for multiple years at Oklahoma State and was drafted by the New England Patriots back in 2010. And with how good the Shanahan tree appears to be year after year, I would not be surprised to see Zach Robinson emerge as one of the best young offensive minds in the league and ultimately get a new head coaching job. And regardless if Robinson is there or not when Penix becomes the starter, due to Raheem Morris being the team's new head coach, all of his contacts and people that he has been involved with for the last 10 plus years do run the West Coast system, and I do think that's going to be an advantage for Penix. He'll be able to rely on the run game, which I think Bijan Robinson will emerge as one of the best backs in the league in the next couple of seasons. Run some play action and then just have the ability to dump off a pass to Kyle Pitts or Drake London and have them take it, 10, 20 plus yards down the field. So I do like how the Atlanta Falcons are building up this roster. I just wish they would have been a little bit more concise with the quarterback position. But nonetheless, this is going to be a very fun and fascinating storyline to watch and follow along with and see how it plays out in the next couple of years. But I want to know what you think about Michael Penix Jr. and when you expect to see him play. Do you think there's a real possibility that Penix could start some games next year for the Falcons, or do you still think he's a couple of years away? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.